What if I told you? The greatest revolutions in history didn't begin with armies, speeches, or crowds, but with a single night of silence. A night when the world was asleep, but one soul was awake, wrestling with destiny. Tonight, I want you to step into those nights. The nights before transformation. Because maybe your own night of change is closer than you think. Picture Martin Luther King Jr., the night before he stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Paper scattered, doubts heavy, prayers whispered. He didn't know his words would echo across generations. He only knew the weight of tomorrow. That night was not about fame, it was about faith. And faith carried him into history. Think of Abraham Lincoln, candlelight flickering as he drafted the Gettysburg Address. He wasn't sure if his words could heal a fractured nation, yet his reflection gave birth to one of the most enduring speeches in American history. Imagine the silence of that room, the scratch of the pen, the heaviness of war pressing against his chest. He paused, reflected, and chose words that would outlive him. Now imagine Winston Churchill pacing the floor the night before his wartime speeches. Britain stood on the edge of collapse. He rehearsed words that would carry a nation through fire. That night was not about certainty, it was about courage. He knew that tomorrow might bring bombs, but tonight, he prepared his voice to be a shield. Consider Rosa Parks, the night before she sat on that bus. She was not a celebrity. She was a tired seamstress, but in her reflection, she chose dignity over silence. That night prepared her to spark a movement. She didn't know her quiet act would ignite the flames of civil rights, but she knew her silence had to end. And Nelson Mandela, the night before freedom, after 27 years behind bars. He didn't know if his release would heal or divide, but he chose reflection over revenge. That night prepared him to lead not with bitterness, but with vision. His silence became strength. His reflection became leadership. Psychologists call it anticipatory reflection. The mind rehearses transformation before it happens. Athletes visualize victory. Leaders rehearse. Speeches, seekers wrestle with silence. The night before is not wasted, it's wiring your brain for destiny. But here's the truth. Silence is not easy. In silence, doubts scream louder. In silence, fears echo. Yet history proves those who endure the silence, those who wrestle with it, emerge transformed. Think of John F. Kennedy. The night before, he told America we would go to the moon. He reflected on risk, on vision, on the impossible, and his words launched a generation of dreamers. Imagine Steve Jobs, the night before unveiling the iPhone. He rehearsed, doubted, reflected, and then changed the way the world connects. Every story carries the same rhythm: silence, reflection, transformation. The night before is the seed of destiny. And you, yes, you are carrying seeds right now. Seeds of words, ideas, visions, breakthroughs, but seeds only grow when planted in silence. Tonight could be your soil. Tonight could be your cave. Tonight could be your night before transformation. So pause. Close your eyes. Breathe. Imagine your own night before. What questions echo in your silence? What fears rise in your mind? What dreams whisper in the dark? Let them speak. Let them wrestle. Because silence is not emptiness, is preparation. Think of Eleanor Roosevelt, the night before presenting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at the United Nations. She reflected on the pain of war, the hope of peace, the dignity of humanity. That night prepared her to speak words that would shape the conscience of nations. Think of Susan B. Anthony, the night before she cast her vote illegally, knowing she would be arrested. She reflected on justice, on courage, on the cost of change. That night prepared her to challenge a system that denied women their voice. Think of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the night before his day of infamy speech. He reflected on the weight of war, the grief of a nation, the resolve of leadership. That night prepared him to steady America in its darkest hour. Think of Barack Obama, the night before his election victory speech. He reflected on history, on struggle, on hope. That night prepared him to speak not just as a candidate, but as a symbol of possibility. Think of athletes the night before the Super Bowl, the night before the Olympics. They visualize every move, every breath, every victory. Reflection is not passive, it is rehearsal for destiny. Think of entrepreneurs, night before launching a company, the night before pitching an idea. They wrestle with doubt, with risk, with vision. Reflection is not weakness. It's the forge of innovation. Think of students, night before graduation, the night before speech, the night before stepping into the unknown. Reflection is not fear, it is the preparation for courage. Every dawn of change begins with a night of reflection. And maybe tonight is yours. So tonight, don't scroll endlessly. Don't drown in noise. Step into your own night before transformation. Journal, reflect, pray, visualize. Because history proves every dawn of change begins with a night of reflection. And maybe tonight is yours. If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Share this video with someone who needs their own night of reflection. Subscribe to Rise and Reflect, because together, we're building not just content but a movement. And movements begin in silence. Blah. In silence.